Hi from the Bucks Room, I'm Spyder. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Spyder's Web on YouTube and Facebook. And on tonight's show, we're going to recap the NFL Draft. I'll give you my winners and losers. And if you watched the NFL Draft and you did a mock draft like I did, this is what you could do with your mock draft. Nothing. There was nothing at all that you could predict in this draft, which is why it was a fun event to watch. Now, let's get to some of the winners here. The San Francisco 49ers. They had a plethora of picks coming into this draft. They did a very good job. Some people say it was very easy for them, not to screw this up because they had so many picks. But they do trade up and they do select Eric Reed out of LSU. A guy is kind of in the same mold as Deshaun Golston. A little bit of a coverage liability, but it can knock your block off. That was a good move by the 49ers. In the second round, they go out and get Tank Carradine out of Florida State. Guys, if he doesn't hurt himself, then he's probably a top 10 pick. So a good pick, a good value pick, can probably take over for Justin Smith eventually. And in the later rounds, I really like this move. They select Marcus Lattimore out of South Carolina. They've had picks like this before. Namely, Frank Gore comes to mind. You get a highly productive running back. Could have also been a top 10 pick before his injury. So overall, I think the 49ers improved and will probably be in the hunt again for the NFC Championship. Now, another team that I think did very well, the St. Louis Rams. They trade up for Tavon Austin. Sorry, Jets fans. The Rams traded up for Austin. A lot of executives thought that he was a weapon that you couldn't miss on. Small in stature, but very explosive, very dynamic, a space player, can go 60 yards. And it was a good move for the Rams to get somebody for Sam Bradford. So that made sense. Then, on top of it, they basically trade back into the first round, and they get Alec Ogletree. Now, I wasn't a big fan of this move, simply because of the fact that I thought the Rams needed a running back like a Ed Lacy, like a Monte Ball, but they go out and they get Alec Ogletree, could be the best linebacker in this draft. They fill a need because they need an outside linebacker. And on top of it, if this guy can get his maturity issues together on and off the field, it's a still of a pick. And then in the later rounds, they add Stedman Bailey, consequently the number 1 wide receiver. Austin was the 2. Stedman Bailey, the number 1 at West Virginia. Both of those guys can compete. And the happiest guy in that building right now has to be Sam Bradford. So those teams to me are the biggest winners. There were others. The Green Bay Packers getting James Franklin and Eddie Lacy. Now they become a balanced team with both of those running backs. I think Lacy, to me, was a steal. He had some toe problems, but it could be as good as Trent Richardson with his speed and his physical ability. And James Franklin really does work in that Green Bay system, can catch the ball, the type of West Coast running back that the Packers have been trying to get for a long time. So I think they could be in the Super Bowl hunt now because, again, they are balanced. Now, some teams that lead me basically shaking my head at this point, and I don't know if they knew what they were doing or not. And again, all this is subjective because you don't know right now if any of these teams are going to do good or do bad. You have to wait at least a couple years down the road. But the Jets, they select D. Milner for the 9th pick. Well, that's fine because you traded Darrelle Revis, your best player, so that fills the need. Best cornerback in the draft, not a bad move. But then at number 13, the pick that you got for Revis, you get Sheldon Richardson. Doesn't make any sense, guys, because he doesn't fit that 3-4 defense. He's more of a 4-3 defensive tackle. So I didn't really get that move. And then you go out and get Geno Smith. You select him in the second round. A lot of pundits had him going in the first round. I was one of those guys. I thought he may go to the Eagles at 4. It didn't happen. A lot of NFL scouts looked at him and said he's got all the tools, but there's just something missing. And what's missing, what you come to find out later on, is during these interviews with NFL teams, he's basically texting on his smartphone. He's playing freaking Angry Birds. That's a joke, by the way, but seriously, probably was playing Angry Birds. I mean, is this the type of quarterback that you want to lead your team to some wins? Because guess what? The Jets aren't going to have a lot of those wins. And with the way he dealt with adversity by not getting selected number 1 in the first round, that would lead me to believe that this could be a disastrous pick because, look, guess what? The Jets aren't going to be that good this year. Not only that, but you passed up on an opportunity next year to select Teddy Bridgewater out of Louisville, Johnny Manziel out of Texas A&M, Aaron Murray out of Georgia. Now this is your franchise quarterback. Are you happy with that? I would say no. I don't think it's a good move. But overall, I think the Jets really don't know what the hell they're doing, and I think a lot of people would agree. My new nickname for the New York Jets this year is the New York Regrets, because basically a lot of fans are going to regret watching this team on Sunday because they don't know what they're doing. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, they seem like every year they're in this conversation. They have needs at safety. They could have had Matt Elam at that pick. They traded out of it. They could have had Eric Reed at that pick, but they traded out of it. They had a need at safety. They didn't go for it. They could have also stayed at that pick and got Sharif Floyd, a defensive tackle. They didn't do that anyway. Who did they select? Travis Frederick. By many scouts' opinions, he was looked at as a second to third round option. And I get it, Dallas Cowboy fans. You want to protect Tony Romo, but consequently, this guy's MO is he's a run blocker. He's not a guy that's going to protect Tony Romo. So you basically reach for a need. You took a player that you could have had in the second or third round. So it doesn't make any sense to me. You passed up on Matt Elam. You passed up on Sharif Floyd. And those teams really lead me to believe that they don't know what the hell they're doing in the draft. So